Hey, welcome into the Fantasy Flow podcast. We are your hosts, Austin and Andy. Andy, I see you're wearing a Seahawks jersey. Our Seahawks actually got a really nice W this weekend. We got a lot to talk about, and we'll get to that game for sure. Andy, I think we should jump into the news. We had a couple of news items that dropped the last couple days. We're recording on November 19th, right after the conclusion of Week 11. And following Week 11, it was announced that Daniel Jones, is getting benched in favor of Tommy DeVito. Um, what was your reaction when you heard that news?
I was shocked it wasn't Drew Lock, honestly. That was my first reaction. A lot of people are saying that they want to go with Tommy DeVito because they want to lose games, and I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah, I was mostly shocked that it was Drew Lock. I think we all knew this was coming, though.
Yeah. So the ironic part is that Tommy DeVito actually played a little too competently last time they were in this situation, and they ended up winning too many games last year because of it, and they won their way out of quarterback range in the draft. And it's kind of funny, yeah, they're going to the third string quarterback, which is still him, except now he has Malik Neighbors. So we'll see. I mean, there's no guarantee that this is a drop off from Daniel Jones, who hasn't been lighting the world on fire or anything.
True.
So yeah, I don't know if this is just obvious tanking because Daniel Jones has been playing so bad. But yeah, the biggest reason why he got benched was because of details in his contract. If he got hurt, then suddenly millions of dollars would be guaranteed in his contract, and the Giants do not want him to get hurt because they want to cut him as soon as the season is over. So this is their way of guaranteeing that he's going to get cut after the season, and they're going to at least get some of that gross contract back. But I did want to highlight how it is just an absolute race to the bottom between four teams who currently sit at 2 wins and 8 losses. Those four teams are all tied, and all four of these teams need quarterbacks. These teams are the Titans, the Browns, the Raiders, and the G-Men. Those four teams probably need a new quarterback more than any other team. And they're all tied record-wise. So I can see these teams making whatever moves necessary. You know, some of these coaches are coaching for their jobs, and then the rest of the players on the roster are obviously playing for their jobs and their respect, new contracts, things like that. But man, these teams are incentivized to lose because they all desperately need a new quarterback. So I thought that was interesting, and yeah, we'll see with this move to Tommy DeVito if it results in more wins or more losses. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't really predict that. I know they play Dallas on Thanksgiving, so maybe the Giants win that one. I don't I don't know.
Did Tommy DeVito play last Thanksgiving too? I
Oh
don't
my
know.
gosh, maybe you're right.
I have memories of like the whole shtick playing out like on a nationally televised game like that.
Right. Yeah, you might be right on that one.
Elsewhere, the New York Jets, they're running out of people to fire, but they got
Oh
one
my
more. They
gosh.
got the GM, Joe Douglas, the man who is responsible for all these personnel decisions, like drafting Sauce Gardner. Yeah, right. Aaron Rodgers is also responsible for a lot
Yeah.
of these decisions too. But yeah, certainly Joe Douglas was the guy who brought in Aaron Rodgers. Joe Douglas is the guy who pulled the trigger on a lot of these other moves to bring in Rodgers' friends and things like that.
Hmm.
And on paper, it looks like Joe Douglas constructed a really good team, but that team keeps losing, and they can't fire Aaron Rodgers, or they won't fire Aaron Rodgers mid-season. And I guess my question to you is, what's happening to the Jets this season? Is it his fault? Is it the general manager's fault that this is happening?
No, it's the name on the jersey.
Mm.
It,
Mm-hmm.
it's it's because they're the Jets, man. I mean, this is why I was so hesitant to jump on board beginning of the season. Like, there's just something wrong there, and nobody can really figure out what it is. Maybe at this point it's the owner. I don't know, man, but I honestly don't think it's anybody's fault. I think it's just a bad mesh of men. Like, and as crappy as a reason that is, like, sometimes that it be like that.
It is a total dumpster fire.
Yeah.
On the flip side, the Seattle Seahawks, with their new head coach, with one of the best GMs in the league, Geno Smith at quarterback, leaves in a phenomenal game-winning drive to beat the San Francisco 49ers. First time in Geno Smith's career that he's beaten the 49ers. We finally did it, Andy.
Finally.
Some nuggets about this game is the first time the Seahawks have beaten the 49ers since 2021. In that game, Adrian Peterson scored a touchdown for the Seahawks. And for the 49ers, Jimmy Garoppolo was still their quarterback, and he threw multiple
Wow.
interceptions. So
Wow,
it
I
is
like
just
hearing
a
that.
totally different, like, the roster turnover on both of these squads since the last time this result happened. It's just a wild result. And huge shout out to Geno Smith, who has just been so solid. And we haven't seen results like this every week. And yes, he's made mistakes, but like that offensive line is so bad, and it was just awesome to see him just overcome that and pick apart the defense. On the other side of the ball, Brock Purdy, he only had 146 passing yards.
Wow.
What are your thoughts on hearing that number and what you saw from the Seahawks defense on Sunday?
Wow, when I hear that, my thought is Jawan Jennings must have had 99 of that 146.
Yeah, yeah, I think he
That guy
did.
just couldn't be stopped. That's crazy. I was all about. I had Purdy and Guillotine going. I wanted as much San Francisco action as I could because I expected San Francisco to carve up Seattle.
It's
So
been a safe bet lately.
yeah, so I'm pleased to hear on one side that the defense is holding their end of the bargain, and I don't know what's going on with San Francisco, man.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that we were catching the San Francisco 49ers at the wrong time because CMC had just came back. And I was like, oh gosh, here we go. And it's on the road. But then they announced right before the game that George Kittle is out. And then Nick Bosa gets hurt in the game and he has to leave the game. And so suddenly they're without some of their leaders, some of their playmakers. And yeah, they just didn't really have any answers on either side of the ball. Like I love that the defense is holding up their end of the bargain for once, and that's our new head coach's calling card is defense. So I love that we're seeing that. And this division is crazy. Can you speak to that a little bit? We have the
Oh my
Cardinals
gosh.
coming off a bye at 6-4, and then all three of the other teams are right at 500.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be shocked if two out of the four of these teams finish at 500. I mean, or, just above or just under. Like, it
Yeah,
is,
9-8, 8-9, something like that.
yeah, it is just going to be super tight to the very end. Those week 17, week 18 games are really going to matter for these four teams, honestly.
Absolutely, absolutely. A lot of divisional games left to go for the Seahawks. We get the Cardinals out of the next 3 weeks. It's Cardinals, Jets, Cardinals again. So it's all in front of the Seahawks. They can control their own destiny. They can take the division lead if they beat the Cardinals twice. So we'll see. Yeah, this coming week, I think the Cardinals come to Seattle. Is that right?
Yep,
And
yep, at home.
that's kind of a bummer, honestly, because the Seahawks have been playing better on the road than they have in their own building. But
Yeah, truly, truly. Yeah, I totally agree.
man, what else stood out to you from Week 11 in the NFC? Some of these other teams that we might be competing for a wild card spot against, other division leaders who look like real playoff contenders. What stood out to you?
Yeah, I'm going to just talk a little bit more on the 49ers side of things. I know other people might have been talking about them from yesterday and today, but I'm really concerned about their playoff chances. They go at the Packers, at the Bills. They have to play the Lions at home still. I mean, that's three out of their next seven. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Yeah, three out of their next seven that are probably losses, honestly, by the way that they're playing. Um, I don't know what's going on with them. I like the leadership doesn't seem to be there. Brock Purdy seems to be up and down. He only has 13 touchdowns so far. Like that's terrible. I mean, they are just if their defense didn't have the superstars that they had, they would probably be a bottom 10 team right now, bottom 8 team. I mean,
Yeah,
this
no, it was crazy. Like right before the season, I said that if this team stays healthy, the 49ers could go 17 and 0.
right.
And they've done the total opposite of stay healthy. This has been one of the least healthy uh, goes for them, and they've had some bad luck as far as health goes in years past. And so yeah, they've lost
Hmm.
Ayuk for the year. Debo seems to be playing through something serious, and yeah, they lost Kittle for this game. Christian McCaffrey just came back, but I don't know. He's not really looking like. Well, he looks good. He looks good. I don't want to take anything away from him, but
No, yeah, he hasn't hit peak Christian McCaffrey form yet, but he's still. I mean, he still looks like that dual threat guy that we know him to be.
yeah, I expect him to really come into his own as they keep going, and I expect Kyle Shanahan to keep this team in it, even against those tough opponents. Like you just can't count them out. But you make a great point about the schedule, and yeah, when it comes to the Seahawks, like we've already played the Bills, we've already played the Lions. We
Hmm.
got our asses whooped by on both of those games, but
Exactly.
that's in the rearview mirror now, and some of our division rivals that we're tied with still have yet to play those top teams. So,
True.
yeah, it is not looking good for the 49ers. What I saw from the NFC, and this is kind of not really how we were thinking about it just a few weeks ago, but now I feel like it's pretty obvious that the NFC is just a two-horse race. Think about the absolute beatdown that the Detroit Lions put on the Jaguars this week. What did they win, like 50-10 or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah. 52 to
Absolute
6.
52-6. Jeez. That is what like Super Bowl teams do to bad teams. Like they don't play down to their level of competition. They don't, oh, we found a way to win. You hear that phrase a lot, right? Like, oh, when a good team is struggling, oh, but they find a way to win. It's like, no, Super Bowl contending teams blow out bad teams. And that's what we're seeing from the Lions, and it's consistent week to week. And the other team that I will put maybe right below them, but as a Super Bowl contender, is the Philadelphia Eagles. And I know it happened quite a few days ago. I'm talking about Thursday Night Football when the Eagles soundly defeated their division rival right now in the Washington Commanders. Those are the only two competitive teams in that division, and the Eagles just said, this isn't that much of a competition, right? Okay. They beat them, I think, by what, 24 or something like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Oh no, they ended up only beating them by 8, but it wasn't that close. It wasn't as close as the final score. So
No.
that's pretty surprising to me because I know we talked a lot about how the NFC North is just full of these amazing teams and you can't count out any of the NFC West teams. We always assumed that the 49ers would get back, but to your point, they haven't. They keep dropping games. And now it's just like it's just those two teams. Those are the only two teams that look like Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, I don't think that's an overreaction. I totally agree. Nobody else really scares you coming from the NFC, and like you said, Detroit is playing like a Super Bowl team. They're playing like the best team in the league.
How about the AFC?
Okay, I am going to talk about the Denver Broncos. I know, big surprise here,
Let's
but
go.
I'm going to say that Bo Nix saved Sean Payton's job because if
Mm.
the Broncos had another bad year with the quarterback that he hand selected, I don't know if Sean Payton gets another year as the Denver Broncos head coach. So I think Bo Nix has established himself as a franchise quarterback after this year. I think he saved Sean Payton's job, and he probably saved a lot of other people's jobs on the Denver coaching staff and maybe roster.
Yeah, that was such a disaster with Russell Wilson, and this was Sean Payton's chance to say, okay, it was all Russell Wilson. It was not me. My ideas are the best ideas, and I just need a quarterback who will do my bidding, who will make quick reads and be accurate, be decisive, and do what I tell him to do, and then it'll
Mm,
work. And it looks like you might be right. Okay, like
yeah.
there was some rookie speed bumps at the beginning of the year
Yeah.
to be expected, but he's caught on pretty quick. He's caught on faster than Caleb Williams has caught on. Yeah, and this offense is absolutely in a groove. What was the final score of this game
Oh
against
gosh.
the Falcons, who are probably still going to the playoffs? So this was like against a playoff opponent. They won 38 to
Yeah,
6.
38-6, yeah. Whenever you can put your opponent under 10 points, that's a statement. Even if you only win by 3 or 4 or 7, like if you can hold your opponent under 10 points in the NFL, that is a statement win.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to the Broncos defense, right? I don't know how much Sean Payton has to do with that side of the ball, but they've been holding it down since week one. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that is a dangerous team, like kind of a sleeping giant, like the last team you would want to play in the playoffs. I think
Right.
if
Oh,
you're
I
one of these
yeah.
division winners, Broncos are going on the road because they're going to be a wild card team. I'm hoping I play any other wild card
Yeah.
team. Yeah,
Yeah.
super. Well, maybe if the Ravens are a wild card team, I would probably rather not play Lamar.
Dude, the AFC is so stacked.
It is, and that was actually
Oh,
an unintentional segue to my hot take, my reaction from what we saw from the AFC. These Baltimore Ravens, man, they have real problems, and I think they just drop these random games and no one can explain it. Why'd they lose to the Raiders? Why'd they lose to the Browns? I don't know, but they beat the good teams. They show up when it counts, so it doesn't really matter. Is kind of the sentiment, right? And Derrick Henry's killing it. Lamar Jackson is killing it. No one's really worried about the Ravens, and then they lose to the Steelers, and then Justin Tucker's not making his kicks. What do we make of this? I like they're not a top three team in their own conference right now. I think they're behind the Chiefs, they're behind the Bills, and clearly they're behind the Steelers. Can you talk me off the ledge here, or like
man.
they're
That
not a
is
top three team in their own conference? Like how can we just like
wow.
sit back and like be okay with the Ravens? Are they squandering another year of Lamar's prime? Is it Lamar's fault? What's going on with the Ravens?
Wow, wow. Lot to unpack there, I think. Yeah, you make up a good point. They beat the teams that they should beat. They only lost to the Browns by 5. They lose to the Raiders by 3. They lose to the Steelers by 2. So what's that? 5, 3, 2. When they've lost, it's been a combined of 10 points. I mean, those are such close games. Sure, they didn't come out on the right side of them, but they are in it. It's not like they're getting blown out, and they are blowing out teams. They beat the Bills 35-10. They beat the Broncos 41-10. Like they are delivering when they should, and they are in every single game. I don't think they're squandering Lamar's career. I think they're still a really good team. That statement though of the top 3, that's where I have to be like, man, you might be right
Yeah.
now. You might be correct right now. They play the Steelers again in 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks at the very second to last game of December. So
Home
week
game for the Ravens too.
home game, yeah. And I mean, the Steelers Ravens, that's always going to be a bloodbath. So I don't I don't take too much away. The Justin Tucker thing is concerning. The defense is concerning. I'm
Yeah,
not too
yeah.
worried about it though, honestly.
I mean, if Tucker makes those kicks, like they lost by 2, so obviously those 2 field goals. If he just makes one of them, it's the game. Like it gives them the win. So that's Yeah, and you bring up a good point. You mentioned those three games all within one score. The other one was the Chiefs, week one, which we all know how close that was. It was Isaiah Likely's toe, being
Yeah.
on the out of
Yep.
bounds line. So they are so close to having the same record as those teams that I mentioned. But man, if we're doing like a power ranking segment, like the Ravens right now are number 4 in the AFC. So
Yeah,
that
I agree. I agree with that statement, but I'm like I said, I'm not too worried, honestly.
okay. They have a lot of games to play,
Hmm.
and yeah, all that really matters is when we get to the postseason. Just make sure you're in the postseason. But man, yeah, they got some work to do.
I just have a small overall reaction to the NFL after 11 weeks. Uh, I'm saying that the whole field goal setup, it needs some type of a rework or a revamp. We have seen so many blocked kicks. We have seen so many missed kicks. Like, it's almost like the kickoff. Like, I feel like the NFL or just a team or two needs to be like, okay, we need to set this up differently. Like, obviously, what we're doing is not working. How can we make this a better success rate? Now, as fans, it's fun because not every field goal, not every game winning situation is actually a game winner. So it makes it more interesting for us. But as an NFL head coach or GM or special teams coordinator, I am looking deep into this and saying, how can we make this more successful for our team?
Yeah. Like leading up to this year, we've seen the makeable field goal distance be pushed back farther and farther. Like now it's like if you're kicking a 50-yard field goal, oh, it's only 50? Like, oh, he should make that. Is like what the sentiment is now,
Yeah.
right? Like 5 years ago that wasn't the case. So we're seeing that happening. But on the other hand, yeah, we've seen a bunch of crazy zany things happening, penalties, blocked kicks, you name it. I think that's all good for the game, especially the blocked kicks, because that's just credit to the defense, well,
Right.
to the special teams of the defense. But yeah, I don't know that that's bad for the game. I like what change would you suggest?
I don't know. There's got to be some, maybe the offensive linemen, instead of like the curl, like the curve on the ends, maybe you stack more guys up right up front and you push the defender's hands down or something. Like, I don't know, because or you just give extra protection there, because it doesn't seem like people are coming off the edge. It seems like it's
They're
blowing up
blowing
right
it
down
up.
the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and how do we set up our kicker better? I mean, it seems like in years past, the last play before they know they're about to kick a field goal, the quarterback goes and does a little sit down right where the kicker likes it. I haven't really seen that a whole lot. It seems like these coaches are just putting these kickers in whatever position they want them to be in. The coach wants them to be in, not so much what the kicker wants. I don't know. That's a tough one.
All right, it is now time to eliminate an NFL team from the playoffs. I'm not gonna say out loud all the teams that we've already eliminated. I think we'll just throw up a graphic and you can see the logos. It's 10 teams at this point, and we need to add an 11th team that has no shot of making the playoffs. We do one a week, every week. Week 11 just happened. So, Andy, how about you start us off and you just nominate a team for elimination?
I nominate the Chicago Bears.
It was such a close
They
game.
lost.
Such a close game.
Yeah, them losing again is not great for their chances. And just as we just mentioned with the NFC North, they're going to have to fight through a lot of traffic to get up there in the wild card conversation. And I think they're just at the point with four wins, 6 losses. I just don't think they can. This is a hole that they can come out of this year. They have to go the next 5 games. Listen to this: Vikings, Lions, 49ers, Vikings, Lions.
Yeah, that's insane. That's
Yeah,
insane.
that's
And
tough.
we were just talking about blocked kicks. Like the Bears kind of had that game against the Packers this week, and the Packers just come out on top. And even though they didn't get out, like the Packers got outplayed, the Bears kind of deserve to win. They don't deserve to be eliminated. Like I think there are teams out there that are worse than the Bears, but I don't know that there are any
Mm,
teams out there with worse odds of making the playoffs than the Bears.
right.
So that's tough. But before we just go through with it, I'm looking around the league, and at some point we need to have a conversation about these Bengals. Very similar to the Bears. They almost won this week, but they didn't, and they're running out of opportunities to even get back to 500. The Bears right now are sitting at
Mm,
4-6. The Bengals at 4-7.
mm-hmm.
Are you ready to give up on Joe Burrow and the Bengals?
Probably, but
Yeah,
oh man,
yeah,
that
I'm kind of
AFC,
there. I'm kind of there. They
yeah.
have a bye week this week, and then the Steelers after that. So they have 2 weeks to prepare for like an absolute must win, like a win or go home game, basically
Mm,
against the best team in their division right now. Uh, but man, like
if yeah, so say so really they can. I mean, I feel like we've been saying this the last 3 weeks. They can only really afford to lose 1 to 2, and they've lost two in a row now. So losing to, I mean, they have to run the. They can only lose one more to go, and then win the rest to go above 500. And I don't know if single digit wins is going to get you into the playoffs in the AFC. I think you need to have double digit wins.
yeah, so what's the plan here? Like we eliminate the Bears and then we eliminate the Bengals after their bye week?
Yeah, that's not a. I mean, that's not a bad strategy. Or yeah, or
Yeah.
maybe the other strategy is to eliminate the Bengals during their bye week and see how the Bears fare against the Vikings.
Give the Bears one more chance because they're actually going to
Yeah,
play a football game.
right.
Elsewhere, we're looking at the Dolphins. They have a 4-6 record, but they are looking good. They have 2 wins in a
Mm-hmm.
row. They played the Bills close, so ever since Tua's come back, they've been a pretty good team. They
Right.
play the Patriots this coming week. I think that's another W. So we can't eliminate the Dolphins while they're rolling like this.
No.
Interesting note about where we're at in the playoff picture and all the teams' records. If the season ended today, every team with a winning record would be in the playoffs, and every team that doesn't have a winning record would be out of the playoffs. Just kind of a unique snapshot right now. And yeah, the teams, what do they have? 7 more weeks to flip that script if you're on the wrong
Yeah.
side of that coin.
Yep. Still a lot of football left, honestly. For fantasy football, it seems like it's coming to a halting stop here pretty soon. But actual football, we have a long ways to go.
Too true. Too true. Boy, okay. Let's take a closer look at these Bears. So they switch offensive coordinators, and the offense does look a lot better. I don't know if you were able to catch much of this game. Caleb Williams, no touchdowns, but no interceptions either. And we see some actual production from Rome Odunze and DJ Moore. Rome went 6 for 65, DJ Moore 7 for 62. And the Packers secondary has been pretty good this year, so I do kind of like that. And like they probably should have had this game. Um, I don't know.
Yeah. They they
What are you
should have had
thinking?
this. They should have had this game, and honestly, they've lost four in a row. So they won three in a row against the Rams, Panthers, Jaguars, and then they lose four in a row. I kind of like the now that I'm looking at it. I kind of like the Bears against the Vikings this week. So, yeah, I say let's hold off on the Bears just one more week, and I just don't see how this team loses five in a row. That's going to be pretty rough if they do. So,
If
yeah,
they do, if they do, then they're out. Like that
yeah,
makes our job easy, right? So
yes, yeah, exactly. Let's go safe here. Let's pick the Bengals. They don't play anybody, and then we'll keep an eye out for the Bears.
man, the teams on the AFC wild card bubble, the teams that currently have those wild card spots other teams are fighting for, those are the Chargers and the Broncos, and both those teams got wins. So that just makes it so
Exactly.
hard for these teams out on the outside looking in. If we eliminate the Bengals, the only other two teams in the AFC that are still alive that are hoping to sneak in there are the Dolphins that we mentioned and the Colts, who are
And the
5-6, and yeah, they're also within striking distance of their own division. So I like keeping
right.
them afloat.
Yeah, and the Broncos. I mean, things can happen. We know injuries can happen. We know ruts can happen. We know streaks in the wrong direction can happen, in the right direction.
It's a good
So
reminder
I
for
think
sure.
I think we're okay picking the Bengals. I think they just have such a huge hill to climb.
All right, let's do it. Sorry, Joe Burrow.
Wow, sorry, Joe. Bye bye.
He said his Super Bowl window was his whole career, but
Not not this year.
not this year. Not when you don't have a good defense.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, that's tough. All right, let's update the listeners on our Guillotine Listener League. We lost another good one. Andy, how many weeks are you going to be the second to lowest scoring team and just
Oh
sneak
God.
by?
Yeah, what was it? I think both weeks, these past 2 weeks, I've snuck by 4 points in each week. So,
Yeah.
man, I had somebody score. I had my tight end Tucker Kraft score 0 points, and I still survived. I mean, that's unheard of at this stage of the game,
Oh man, to get a goose egg like that, yeah, that's nuts.
and still win. I mean, wow, that I was very shocked.
So we lost Jeff Burr, our friend. He's been great for the league, very active in the chat, and he's just one of the more entertaining league mates to have. And he had a great run. I don't think he'd ever played Guillotine before, and he did very well. His team, one of the best we've seen, which is natural at this stage. I mean, it was only an 8-team league. Now it's a 7-team league, and there's some amazing players available to be picked up. So speaking of Joe Burrow, he had Joe Burrow, and
Hmm.
he needed a ton of points on Monday Night Football from Nico Collins and Joe Mixon, and he almost got it. He almost got what he needed just because Joe Mixon was absolutely going off. But yeah, I'm
Oh
looking at it
God.
now. He had Travis Kelsey, who just banged him. He started Mark Andrews, too, who went 2 for 22. And yeah, I mentioned Joe Burrow. He left Joe Burrow on his bench, and he started Russell Wilson instead.
Yeah, and he's been starting Joe Burrow all year long. Ever since he got him, he's been had Joe Burrow in his starting lineup. And the 1 week he doesn't leave Burrow in there, he pops off for 30 points in fantasy, and Russ
Yeah,
only gets like 7.5.
man, you got lucky, man. But I'm rooting for
You
you.
can
I'm
say that
rooting for
again.
you.
Yeah,
All right.
survived both guillotine leagues this week again.
That's not easy. I mean, there are 18 team leagues. You have two of them, and you're still in the final seven in both of them. So, moment of silence for our friend Jeff.
The tribe has spoken.
He gone.
All right. All right. It is at this time that Andy and I felt it would be fun to revisit our preseason predictions, specifically our Super Bowl predictions and our MVP predictions, and see if we want to stick with it or if we want to pivot given 11 weeks of NFL action. I'll go ahead and start it off. And we'll start off with Super Bowl. I said that the 49ers would win the Super Bowl and beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I think I'm going to pivot, seeing as how we just talked about how the 49ers might not even make the playoffs. Um, yeah, that's a rough one. Remind me,
Yeah.
Andy, what was your pick for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I had Philadelphia versus Baltimore, and I pretty sure I had Baltimore winning that one.
Oh, okay. That's reasonable. How do you feel about that prediction? I mean, it hasn't aged poorly like mine has, but do you wanna pivot?
Yeah, so we had our Super Bowl prediction, then we had a sneaky prediction, and my sneaky prediction was the Lions versus the Texans, and I'm gonna combine the two. Actually, I'm gonna change it up just a little bit. I'm gonna go Lions versus Baltimore.
Dude, that's exactly what I wrote down. That's what I
No way!
yeah, that's what I want to pivot to. I want to say I'm saying Lions over Ravens in the Super Bowl. Maybe it's probably because of that what was it 52-6 that they just
Yeah,
put up this week, but like
yeah,
man, the Lions look so good. And
yeah.
there's not a lot of competition elsewhere in the NFC except for maybe the Eagles, like I was saying. So yeah, I said Lions over Ravens is what I want to pivot to. I don't love what we're seeing from the Chiefs offense, and I just feel like they can't keep getting away with this. Like it kind of seemed like in the offseason the Chiefs got better. They addressed areas of need and fast forward to now, like Isaiah Pacheco broke his leg, Travis
Hmm.
Kelsey looks old, and their receivers keep getting hurt. So I want to pivot off of the Chiefs too, even though their record is still phenomenal. I'm gonna say Lions over Ravens. What's
I'm gonna.
your? Yeah, obviously you feel the same way, but what was going
Yeah,
through your head when you made that pick?
yeah. I mean, as I said earlier, I'm not too worried about the Ravens. I looked at their games. They're all within one score. They're blowing teams out. They have Derrick Henry still. They have Lamar and playing at an MVP caliber level again. John, I watched the episode of our preseason predictions, and I talked about coaching, and I'm sticking with John Harb. I mean, I'm sticking with John Harbaugh on this one, and I honestly think if that's the matchup, I think Baltimore finds a way to win.
All right, yeah, I I don't know. Yeah, I think just the dominance of the Lions and the story of the Lions it just kind of makes me gravitate to them in that matchup. But those aren't really good like football reasons. Like
Right.
in terms of a
Right.
matchup, I think yeah, Lamar would be able to take advantage of that defense because yeah, and we don't know about Aiden Hutchinson either. So
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen what it takes to beat Goff. We've seen what it takes to disrupt him. It doesn't happen very often, but I think a Ravens team is a team that could make that happen.
oh, man, the Ravens run defense versus the Lions running game. That
Oh,
would
that would
be
be.
an epic strength on strength. How about the MVP? What was your pick before the season started for MVP?
Yeah, my real pick was C.J. Stroud. My sneaky MVP was Dak Prescott. I don't feel too great about either of those, especially with Dak being hurt
Yeah.
and done for the year.
Yeah, mine was Patrick Mahomes, which was super boring. I honestly don't remember my sneaky. Oh no, I think I do. I think it was Jordan Love. If the
It was
Packers
Jordan
had just
Love.
an epic season where they continued on the hot streak that they finished the year on, I thought Jordan Love could have a chance. But he's throwing just as many picks as he is touchdowns. Even though the team's winning more often than not, he is not in the MVP
No.
conversation. So yeah, I'm gonna pivot away from Patrick Mahomes, even though he's still kind of in the MVP conversation. Um, I would just give it to Lamar at this point. I don't know how you could not pick Lamar, Andy.
I don't know how you could not pick Josh Allen after what he just did
Mm.
to the Kansas City Chiefs and trucking people over. It's so funny that I'm watching the Seahawks game. I see Gino run it in for the touchdown, and then that game ends, and I pivot to the Kansas City Bills game, and Josh Allen does almost the exact same thing, but in way better fashion. Uh, so
Well, yeah, but
I don't
Gino
know.
did it first, so
Yeah, Gino did it first. Yeah. I don't know how you don't pick Josh Allen and the Bills. I mean, Lamar has Derrick Henry. He has Zay Flowers, a stud wide receiver. The Bills don't have. I mean, yes, they just got Amari Cooper, but Josh Allen is playing with some guys out there, and he is making it look wonderful. So I'm hopping on the Josh Allen, the Stallion train.
Yeah, one of the sports books I looked at this week, Josh Allen did just pass Lamar in odds for the award, but I mean, Lamar just lost to the Steelers,
Yeah,
and Josh Allen did just beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. So, like,
right.
a week like that is sure to shift both of those narratives. A lot of football left to go. So, yeah,
Sure.
that's going to be interesting to track for sure.
Yeah, I like our picks though.
Yeah, yeah, I do too. A lot of football left to play. Starting with week 12, Andy, the NFC is just popping off. We have 49ers, Packers, Seahawks, Cardinals, Eagles, Rams. So I'm looking at those NFC West opponents, and it seems like everyone has a huge week this week. What stands out to you on the schedule? What's caught your eye?
Yeah. Like I said, the more I look at this Bears Vikings game, Minnesota's only favored by 3.5. I think the Bears could make a push to try to win that game, get like some type of weird revenge game mode. But yeah, I mean Cardinals, Seahawks, 49ers, Packers, those are going to be the ones that I keep on. I mean, look at that. Those all those games you mentioned are in the afternoon and then Sunday night football.
Yep, yep. The Bears, they're 0-4 on the road, and they're 4-2 at home. And I think a lot of that has to do with the opponent, but still, that's significant because this game, Bears Vikings, it's in Chicago. So I definitely like our decision to keep them alive, just to see what happens. And if they do lose to the Vikings, well, then they're out. So
Right.
I do like that. Another interesting note. What is it? Is it Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football? I think it's Monday Night Football. Ravens, Chargers. Yes, Monday Night Football. Ravens, Chargers. It is the only game this week where both teams are above 500.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So that's and both of these teams are they currently have AFC wildcard spots. So
Yeah, they both have 7 wins. They both have a head coach with the same last name.
oh, it's the Harbaugh again.
Yeah.
Whoa, okay. I didn't
Yeah,
even realize. I didn't put that together.
and they're tied with the most over under for the week at 49.5. They're tied with the of course the Detroit Colts game.
All right, all right. Yeah, that is a spicy one. I like that.
That's going to be a great one.
All right, let's jump into fantasy football. Some players that you're looking forward to flowing into your lineup this week.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Detroit Lions and go with Jared Goff. I know he's hard to trust sometimes because the run game is so strong, but they're going up against the Colts. We just saw the Vikings carve up the Colts a couple weeks ago, Sam Darnold. So if Sam Darnold can do it, I think Jared Goff can do it.
Yeah, it's crazy. He throws 5 interceptions 2 weeks ago, and then last week, him and the offense put up 50 points. So it's like he's
Yeah.
one of the most consistent quarterbacks when you think of just who he is as a person. He's just very rock solid, but his fantasy output has just been peaks and valleys lately. So, but yeah, decent matchup this week, and we'll see. A quarterback that I'm flowing into my lineup. We don't got to go too far into it. It's Bo Nix again. I'm just going to keep picking Bo Nix because he's right on that borderline of like, do you start him, do you not? And he keeps having these great
Yep.
matchups. This week he goes up against the Las Vegas Raiders, who are just a bad team with very
Yeah.
little to play for. And he's just riding the hot streak. And I'm just going to stay in the flames with Bo Nix.
Sure. Next, I'm going James Conner with the Cardinals against the Seahawks. Chris McCaffrey still had a great game against the Seahawks, mostly due to catching the ball. James Conner has been one of the more consistent running backs in fantasy football this year. I think Seattle's defense is good. I don't think it's great. I think James Conner is still going to have a great game this week.
Yeah, I love that pick. Yeah, running backs. I mean, man, Seahawks defense has been looking better as of late, but I still think it's a good bet to just pick the opponent's running back, especially when they have that 3-down roll. I'm looking at 2 running backs. I'm going to lump these guys together because they're both rookie running backs who are taking over that lead role for their teams. They're both coming off a bye, and they both play each other. I'm talking about Tyrone Tracy and Bucky Irving. I want to put both of these guys in my lineup. These are both just young guns who might not be in a lot of starting lineups, but a lot of teams are on bye this week. A lot of fantasy teams dealing with bye week problems, and I think these guys are problem solvers for that. Tyrone Tracy and Bucky Irving.
Yep, I totally agree. Tyrone Tracy is averaging over 5 yards a carry right now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And then Bucky Irving, I think, is a sneaky play. Giants defense is strong, but they're also 2-8 and playing Danny DeVito at quarterback.
Yeah, last time we saw both of these running backs, they were getting the vast majority of the work. So I hope that the Giants are willing to overlook Tyrone Tracy fumbling the ball and basically losing them the game last time we saw them.
Right.
But they've had a whole bye week to get right, for him to get right. And yeah, I'm looking forward to both these guys showing us what they got.
I'm going to go one more running back here. Brian Robinson Jr. It's been a bumpy road ever since his injury, and Austin Eckler is getting a lot of work fantasy-wise. I think they're going against the Dallas Cowboys. We just saw what Joe Mixon did. I don't care if Brian Robinson gets like 10 carries and 5 of them are from the 5-yard line and in from the goal line. He's going to get those touchdowns. This is a get-right game for Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. Easy plug, in my opinion.
Yeah. Who's their opponent again?
The Dallas Cowboys. It's in Washington.
Goodness. Yeah. No, that's a great matchup. Both of those running backs are great starts. Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, if you're in any sort of PPR
exactly.
league. Yeah, that's a great call there. Going negative, where if we got to flow guys in, we got to flow some other guys out of our lineup. And at quarterback, I think I've picked this guy before too. I'm just going to stick with it. Patrick Mahomes. Just I know it's Patrick Mahomes, and I know they're going up against the Carolina Panthers. That's a good matchup. But just because it's a good matchup and just because it's Mahomes, you don't have to play him. He's only been a top 10 quarterback once this season. So to predict that that's going to happen again, I don't know. You know, like obviously the Chiefs are probably going to win by a lot, but that doesn't mean they're winning through the air. They're probably going to win how they normally win this season, the running game and the defense.
Yeah, I'm going to flow out Jonathan Taylor this week. I'm going for the juggernaut, for the jugular, excuse me.
Wow.
They're going against the Detroit Lions. The run game has just not been there for the Colts. It doesn't matter who's at quarterback, and it definitely doesn't help when Anthony Richardson comes out and scores 2 rushing touchdowns, takes away all the fantasy value away from Jonathan Taylor, and it's a tough matchup. And I think I'm looking to bench him if I have other options. That might not be the case for everybody though.
Yeah, that's tough because a lot of teams are dealing with bye weeks. But man, like, it's a tough pill to swallow. But you're probably right. You know, it's kind of like when you're in poker and you have a good hand, but you also have a good feeling that you're beat. It's like you should probably just fold it, and it doesn't feel good. But that's kind of what it feels like benching Jonathan Taylor, kind of like benching like Tyreek Hill earlier when Tua was out. That's kind of where we're at here. So. Man, yeah, if you can afford to bench him, do it. And I have a running back that I'm benching. I already mentioned the Chiefs-Panthers game. I want to bench Chuba Hubbard, who has been awesome for fantasy, but This is the toughest matchup, I think, for running backs. The Kansas City Chiefs defense, and you have Jonathan Brooks coming back. So they're probably going to split the load against a great defense in a super tough matchup. I just don't like that setup at all. If you can bench him, bench him. If not, lower your expectations because I think this is going to be a real down game.
Dang. Yeah, I don't like to hear that, but
Sorry, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, I might have to. I don't know. That I really like Chuba and he's been super productive. So, oh man, I really don't like hearing that. I'm gonna combine two players on the same team, Sam Darnold and Jordan Addison. I get it that they had a good game and Addison scored a touchdown. They also played the Tennessee Titans. This week they are going against, excuse me, pause while I find. Oh yeah, they're going against the Bears, of course. And the Bears have
Yeah.
a really good defense. Bears have a really good pass rush. I mean, their DB list is huge. Their depth is huge on DBs, and I don't know. Sam Darnold is so up and down. He had an up game last week. I think this is going to be a down week this week.
Yeah, that's tough. The Vikings just keep winning. I think they're 8-2, but Sam Darnold has looked less and less impressive as the season has gone on. Yeah, so that's probably a good pick, especially considering going into Chicago against that defense. I do like that pick, and I have a wide receiver. His name's Jamison Williams. I think a lot of people might be tempted to put him into their lineup after that huge spike week that he had against the Jaguars. But I'm here to tell you that Sam Laporta was out, and he didn't get his points until like late third quarter, fourth quarter. Like they had to put up 50 points for Jamison Williams to get his, and Laporta was out. Like I just don't think you should expect for that to happen again.
I agree. It seems like that was kind of just like a why not touchdown, like here you go, or why not scheme for him, and it turned into a touchdown. It seems like they really like to use him in these gadget plays, and that's not a hot take or anything, but it seems like he gets featured more against the tougher opponents, where against the easier opponents he gets left in the shadows, and unless they do what we just saw, completely blow up the
Yeah.
other team. So yeah, I mean the over under is 49.5 for this game, and I think that's mostly just due to Detroit. They're favored by 7 right now.
It was funny. I think I heard Mina Kimes say that Ben Johnson, the reason why they scored so many points was because Ben Johnson was auditioning for the Jaguars head coaching job for next year. He said, hey, look,
Oh my
Jaguars, this
gosh,
is
that's
what I can
funny.
do.
Wow, that's funny. Yeah, this is what I can do with a star-studded roster, and give me years to figure it out on your end.
Right, right, right. Soon this could be you. Yeah, if you hire me.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, just wanted to jump in here real quick to remind you all about our partnership with BetStamp. If you're ready to take your sports betting to the next level and you want to support our show, we highly recommend signing up for your next sports book through the show's sign up expert link in the description. This will allow you to take advantage of many new user offers available. And don't forget to bet responsibly by tracking all of your bets and getting yourself the best odds through the BetStamp app. Back to the show! All right. Fantasy Flow 4-pack of game picks. I think last week we had another 2-2 week. We're really trying to avoid that. And,
That's my fault.
well, it's been my fault in the past, Andy. It's okay. I'm going to start us off here because this game starts us off for week 12. I'm looking at Thursday Night Football, and that is Steelers versus Browns. Steelers need to go into Cleveland and win by more than a field goal. That's it? That's it? I'm looking at that line and I'm like, what is going on with that line? The Steelers look like one of the best teams in the league. The Browns are floundering. Win by more than a field goal, Steelers. Come on.
Yeah, on paper that makes sense because the Browns have 2 wins and the Steelers have 2 losses. So,
Well
yeah,
put, yeah.
that makes sense. But it's also a divisional game, so I mean they only beat the Ravens by 2. Yeah, I mean the Browns just look so bad. They scored a couple of crazy touchdowns against the Saints, but the Saints look bad. So it's like, how much do you take away from that?
It's a divisional game. It's a Thursday night game. Like, it could get weird. It's not a slam dunk, but I'm just trusting what I've seen from the Steelers.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. I'm gonna ride this Bo Nix train and say Denver -5.5 against Las Vegas. That seems way too low for me, especially when they just showed that they can destroy a competent team like Atlanta. Raiders are not a competent team, so I think they're going to go in and destroy the Raiders.
Yeah, that's a wild line. I don't get that at all. They just won by like 30. So, yeah. Hopefully that's not like a trap line like we've seen. I don't know. When all the money is on one side and the other side somehow pulls it
Sure.
out. This could be a real Mike Tyson situation, but hopefully not. My last pick here, I picked the Texans last week to cover more than a touchdown, and they came through. This week, they're at home against the Tennessee Titans, and I'm going to double down. I think the Texans can cover 8.5 points against the Tennessee Titans. Here's an interesting nugget for you. The Titans are the worst team in the NFL against the spread. They've only covered the spread one time so far this year.
Wow. Yeah. That's kind of like, how do you not bet on the Chiefs? It's like, how do you bet on the Titans at
How do
this
you
point?
bet on the Titans? Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
for those of you wondering, the two best teams against the spread so far this year, the Steelers, they cover the spread. And Andy, can you guess the other team that is beating the spread more than the rest of the league?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I don't know.
It's the team we both picked to go to the Super Bowl. It's the Detroit Lions.
Oh, of course, duh. Duh.
Them and the Steelers have
Aye.
beaten the spread more than any other team in the league. And the Titans are dead last.
Well, that makes sense for the Lions. Of course, it would be the Lions. Yeah, I like that. Joe Mixon is the #1 running back in fantasy right now.
Is he?
And what did I say? What was that, like week 3? Like, he's going to be a top 3 running back.
Oh my
He's
goodness.
killing it. I can't. Man, I can't. I wish I had more of Joe Mixon because he is just doing so well for this team. I'm glad he's back. I'm gonna go. I know we've been talking up the Ravens and how I'm not worried, because I'm not. I'm going the Chargers +4. Now the line is Baltimore -3, so that would mean Chargers +3. But I'm just gonna give a little bit of a buffer and say +4. I think Ravens win this one by a field goal. So I think the Chargers cover, but I don't think they win.
Wow. All right. So you think they're gonna keep it close, the Chargers? You liked what you saw from the Chargers against the Bengals this last week?
Yeah, I did. And I think Justin Herbert is really starting to turn it on at the right time. And they've started to really unlock him. And the running back, I mean, having Gus Edwards is kind of like a weird revenge game. You know, they have Greg Roman, they have Gus Edwards coming back to play against the Ravens. I don't know. The Chargers are a fun team to watch now. They almost chargered it up against the Bengals, and then and then the Bengals were the ones that chargered it up. So I'm looking forward to this one, but I think the Ravens come out by winning by a field goal.
By a field goal. So Justin Tucker, some redemption for him, perhaps.
Correct.
Alrighty. Well, there you have it. That was the Fantasy Flow 4-pack. And thank you so much for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks a ton for making it to the end of the episode. You're a real one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That's a free, easy way to support the show, and it really helps us out. And leave us your comments down below if you're on YouTube, or send in your questions at thefantasyflowpodcast@gmail.com. Until next time.